Advent, so it's all about love today. Oh, love. You know, I've been a minister for over 22 years, and I wish I had a nickel for every message I gave on love. And so looking at this year, I thought, how do I put a new twist on love? You know, what should I do with it this year? Such a one overused word and yet very underrated, isn't it? Well, we can all agree on one thing. The world's worst quote on love ever. Are you with me on this? 1970. What movie was it? Love Story. What was the worst quote ever? Love is never having to say you're sorry. Is that the worst quote ever? So relax, I'm not going to be talking on that today. Worst quote ever. Love is so profound. It's so profound, it's a power. And so the 4 themes for Advent are powers, and they sound so mild and, you know, peace and faith and all that. But now think of the power, and your body is involved in it too. Because the first week we had faith, the mind power to shape the very substance around us. Is that not a power? That's a power. And then we went into peace. That's the solar plexus, where you're centered in peace. Is that not power, to be centered in peace? Nothing can rock you off your boat if you're centered in peace. And now today it's the heart with love, which is the creative power of the universe. Wow. Now you take that, and you can imagine with that song, I Pray on Christmas. What if every time you prayed, you involved all 3 of those, and your whole body felt you had the mind power, you had that centered in peace of the solar plexus, and then you had the love coming out of your heart. What if you prayed with all those 3 in harmony? Do you realize how powerful that would be? Amazing. And most of us pray with one or the other, a little opposite, and the universe doesn't know what to do with it. And I always give the example of, I have the mind idea to go on a diet, but my feeling nature wants to go to the refrigerator, you know. What does the universe do with that? You know, all 3 of them have to be in harmony together, and then you've got all the powers going in one direction. Unity itself was founded on the belief in the power of prayer. And when you add love to it, you can't, praying without love, you know, is like the energy just sort of going out there. But praying with love power, woo, you know, whatever, if you get all 3 of them, I call it the trilogy of power. When you've got the mind and the solar plexus with the peace and the heart of love all going together, mind power. God itself is love. God is the creative power of the universe. And we can go all the way back to one of our unity ancestors in New Thought. You know, New Thought has a family tree with many offshoots of churches, like religious science, Christian science. You know, they're very similar to ours. But we all share this common ancestor, Phineas Quimby, and he said, love is a spark from the great love that fills all space and is the beginning and end to all things, from where all things rise, in which we all live, move, and have our being. So we are all an extension of love. We come from love. We go back to love. And with love, we have the power to heal and restore anything. And if you look around at all the people in here today, each one is love in expression, but each one expresses it in a little different way. You've all come to be the expression of love from a little different viewpoint, from a little different way. So if you want to know, what did I come to be this lifetime? Who did I come to be? What part of love did I come to express? Well, at the Unity Village, we used to have this game we would play. It was like a test. And you would think it may be 3 or 4 people that you admire more than anybody else in the world. Let's say 3 people. And then you might want to go home and do this so you can really give it some time. But you take those 3 people and you think, well, what are the qualities about them that makes me admire them so much? And you write down the qualities. And then you look at all the things you've written down. Which word pops up the most? That's the word you're drawn to, the quality you're drawn to. Maybe that's who you have come to be in this lifetime, qualities that you have come to strengthen. Every one of us is here for a purpose, to express a different quality of love's presence. And they don't all look pretty, let me tell you. What if you came to heal abuse? Maybe you came into a family to go through some of that so that you could rise above and heal it. I always say I've come to push people's spiritual buttons. That doesn't always look pretty, you know. So don't look for the pretty. What did you come to be? Well, before we can do that, we have to know what love is and what it isn't. And you know, in all these 22 years of ministry, I don't think I've ever given a message on 1 Corinthians 15. You hear that one all the time. You'll recognize it when I read it. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It's not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Oh wow, that's a lot to look at, isn't it? So let's take it apart and look at each word and to see a deeper meaning of love. It starts off, the first thing it says love is patient. Well, they've lost me right away. This is hard. I didn't realize this was going to be hard. When they were handing out patience, I was in another line across the hall. Charles Fillmore talks about patience in such an interesting way. He said when we're trying to create, when we're trying to manifest something, if we're impatient, we actually slow down the process. Wow. No wonder why it's taken me so long with some of these things. And then when you take that with people, we have to really be patient with each other, don't we? I mean, don't you just wish the people around you would get it right now and get it the way you think they should get it? Fulfill your potential and right now? We have to have patience with each other, don't we? And then patience with ourselves, that we're not getting it too sharp either. Patience. No wonder why they put that one first. Wow. I used to pray, God grant me patience, and I want it right now. But you have to be really careful when you pray for patience. The world will give you opportunities to practice patience. And then you run around saying, I didn't ask for this. Yeah, maybe you did. Well, enough of that one. The second one is kindness. I think that's one of the most beautiful words. Kindness. And I think right now the biggest fear we have in the nation, it's not that Elvis has left the building. It seems like kindness has left the building. It's almost politically correct now to be rude and unkind. And no pun intended, excuse me for this horrible pun about which I bless me, Father, from without sin. We need to trump up our kindness. Practice, practice, practice. Now the next line is, love is not envious, boastful, arrogant, or rude. So what do we do when some of the leaders are? Well, we must stand in the truth of love's presence. More than ever, we have to be who we came to be. What part of love did I come to be? And stand in it. Express it. Be it. And I love the fact that the worse it gets out there, the more people are coming forth to express their own kindness. I love the story last week. Well, it was a horrible story, but I love what happened. You know, hate crimes seem to be on the increase. And there was a Mideastern bakery where there was a hate crime committed. And I try not to watch the news, so I didn't get the whole story. But I saw what happened to the people afterwards. Everybody around this bakery decided they were going to support this bakery with love and kindness. And the next day when that bakery opened up, there were people lined up around the block. I'm getting goosebumps as I'm even talking about it. We're here to support you. We're with you in our love. That might never have happened before. It's bringing out the love in everybody. People are jumping at the chance to be kind to each other. And the greatest gift we can give each other this year is kindness. And the good thing about kindness, it's a one gift that it's okay to regift. You can regift it. Another story that's been happening is the veterans who went to Standing Rock and knelt down and apologized to the chiefs and the heads of the Indian nations for all the atrocities, broken treaties, for all the treatment that they were given, and the mistreatment of the earth. They apologized for their branch of service that did that. What a beautiful photographs. Been on Facebook all over of them apologizing. What a heartwarming. Out of all that greed comes all this love and kindness. Wow. Love is the power to heal all this. Love is the power to heal it. Well, the next line is, love is not irritable. I kind of want to skip over that one. We've all got our days, let's just face it. Back to patience. We always go back to patience when we give those. The next part of that is, love is not resentful. And there are different versions. One version said, do not hold a record of wrongs. Anybody here hold a record of wrongs? They're like litanies. When I grew up, we had, you know what a litany is? A litany is a prayer. Many of you grew up with the litanies. And it's repetitive prayer. Over and over again, you repeat these words. And some people have litanies of grievances. My brother did this, my cousin did this, my uncle did blah, 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 blah. And what happens is that we become hurt because our heart isn't open to our own blessings. And one of the most powerful metaphysical Bible stories is the one of Lot and his wife fleeing Sodom and Gomorrah. You all remember that? What happens to his wife? Salt. She looks back and she turns to salt. And metaphysically, that is a story of when we have our litany of resentments that we keep looking back to, we turn to salt. We literally dry up spiritually in every other way. Love does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in truth. And our job as truth students is to stand in truth and love, speak truth and love, act from truth and love, no matter what is going on out there. No matter what. Back to patience, right? Yeah. No wonder why patience was first. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Like many of you, I've had much to bear in this lifetime. Seems like I've been here 10 lifetimes by now. But if you have the belief and hope that love and truth prevails, no matter what, it helps you to get through it, no matter what's going on. And we hold it for ourselves, we hold it for each other, we hold it for the country, the world. Love and truth prevails. Love is a spiritual practice. Matter of fact, the Hindus have a certain kind of yogi, and I know I'm going to kill the pronunciation, but bhakti, it's the yoga of love. And the Hindus explain what it is. It's a spiritual practice of loving devotion to God, which seeks to dissolve the ego. Remember, the ego is that part of us that thinks it's separate. It dissolves the ego into God. Is that powerful? That it actually can dissolve that part of us that thinks it's separate. God acts through the devotee as light and love, and sins of the devotee are said to fall away of their own accord. Wow, what power is devotional love? Love for the divine, love for the divine qualities. You know, the Hindus are so great at it. It looks like they're worshiping all these little statues that are gods, but they're just worshiping and honoring the attributes of God, and each image is a different attribute of God. The Catholics have the rosary. My mother was totally devoted to Mary, totally devoted. The Sufis have ecstatic dancing the joy of the divine. I think I'll be a Sufi in my next life. That sounds fun. Dancing the joy of the divine. In Eastern Europe, they practice Sophia worship, which is the adoration of wisdom, all the wisdom teachings. And the Old Testament goes along with that, with the Song of Solomon and the wisdom books. You know, the greatest thing is wisdom to me. They honor wisdom, a love story of the divine and ourselves. Even the Hopis here in Arizona, they have daily rituals and prayers of devotion, and they believe their prayers and dancing keep the world spinning on its axis. I'm not going to argue that. Maybe they are. The power of love is pretty great. And they're up there dancing on that mesa. That may just be what's keeping it, holding it all together. The Hawaiians have something called Living Aloha. And Nancy Little, who's from Unity in Hawaii, said it implies at its core an intention to enjoy life from a perspective of connection, compassion, caregiving, community, and cooperation. Sounds like love to me. So all around the world. Jesus said, love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. Greatest teaching of all. He led the gospel of love. So let us take this into prayer today. God, intellectually we know these things to be true. Now help it sink into our hearts, our solar plexus, where we center into it and hold it deeply, where we feel it and know it, and send that love out into the universe till every heart and every mind awakens to the oneness, awakens to love itself, and sets the fire of spirit going around the world, that awakening presence of divine love. We choose it, we stand in it, we believe it and express it. We are the love of God in expression, and we say thank you, Father, Mother God, in the nature of the Christ, and so it is. Amen.